Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just share the screen now. So thanks for having me. Today, I just want to talk about the methodology social network analysis. And I know it's been mentioned previously in the conference, or in day one, and just in the previous talk as well. So I briefly just want to talk about how social network analysis can be used for social listening, and then talk about some of our research which use this methodology to study misinformation networks from the start of the pandemic, and some of the insights we were able to get from that. So social network analysis is essentially the process of investigating social structures by drawing upon network and graph theories. So it's been used a lot in sociology before the advent of social media platforms to understand relationships between communities and different groups in different settings. So for instance, you might go into an organization and speak to the different people there to kind of draw up a social network of how people are connected to each other and who influential employees might be. And due to the advent of social media platforms, people began to use this method and apply it to social networks. And there's a number of different tools and software applications that allow anyone to easily tap into this social media data and perform social network analysis on these data sets. So this is an overview of a network visualization, and essentially social network analysis by exploring the relationships between different users around a given topic, account on social media, YouTube video, and so forth. By examining how people are conversing and talking to each other, it might uncover kind of the groups and key users that are within the network. So for instance, we might use different metrics to find out who the most influential person might be. So for instance, one metric is betweenness, centrality, and that might tell us which nodes or users in a network are spreading information the most. We'll also be able to find out the key discussions the core group are having. And when we are studying misinformation, we can isolate and kind of analyze accounts that are most influential in these groups. So we might use it for a kind of grouping key discussions, highlighting popular information sources, and kind of isolating them and seeing what types of information they might be spreading. And it's a useful method to use alongside textual analysis as well. And it kind of gives some additional insight into the network. And due to the availability of many different tools, one of the nice things about it is that almost anyone really with an internet connection can start to produce these network graphs. So kind of health authorities should hopefully be easily able to kind of produce some of these visualizations. And what social media researchers have found is that when it comes to topics discussed on Twitter, there might be kind of main patterns that might emerge, not just on Twitter, but perhaps on other platforms as well. And our network insights and visualizations can kind of give us insight into the structure and nature of a given topic. So for instance, we might find that some groups or some network graphs represent broadcast networks, where we might get a group of influential users spreading misinformation, and we can see in the network that their purpose is to kind of broadcast this misinformation. We might get polarized crowds. So for instance, we might get a group of users kind of positively talking about vaccines. We might get a group of users against vaccines. So we might find kind of examples of polarized groups. And there's other shapes that might emerge as well. So a support network is where one user might be replying to a large number of other users. So for instance, trying to tell people about a misinformation. So in our research, we also found that accounts will try and tweet as many users as possible to kind of tell them about misinformation on social media networks. So this kind of a network visualization of these 6 shapes was produced by the Social Media Research Foundation, which analyzed thousands of different topics on Twitter to try and come up with different ways to see how networks might look like. So there's different tools that people can use to analyze social media data from different platforms, for instance, Twitter, YouTube, and so forth. And one open source free tool that anyone can really start to use and find kind of patterns in these networks is Gephi, freely available, and allows kind of importing data and analyzing it. There's other tools as well, iGraph, UCINet, and Node XL as well, a Microsoft Excel plugin. So in our research, we've been mostly using Node XL, and we have been studying misinformation networks on different conspiracies. So one conspiracy we looked at was 5G and coronavirus, where we looked at the relationships between different users in the network. And we also looked at another conspiracy theory, the Fermi Hospital conspiracy theory, that kind of clustered users into the different groups and so forth. We also found that when we look at a particular network as it emerges, once you remove the accounts that are spreading misinformation, we might see a group on the right-hand side. So networks, when we remove misinformation from them, they really look kind of empty. So we published our research in the Journal of Medical Internet Research, kind of at the start of the pandemic. And by producing these visualizations, we're able to identify key groups of users who might be kind of spreading misinformation. And you can use social listening for other things as well. So for instance, the general World Health Organization Twitter account, we could actually put that into Node XL, produce different visualizations, and actually look at the connections between different users and groups, find out who the most influential people are in that particular discussion. We can also, for instance, use social network analysis to look at the likes of YouTube user discussion networks as well. So for instance, we could see what the most commented videos are on YouTube and explore the network, see the kind of key groups and divisions that might emerge. So there's a number of data sets around health, misinformation networks, World Health Organization, and then public health more generally on the Node XL graph gallery that might be of interest to some of you who are kind of working in this area as well. Our publications are also available on the Journal of Medical Internet website, where we've looked at a number of different conspiracy theories. So that's it for a kind of overview of social network analysis.